Hello and welcome to the Business of Influence podcast, brought to you by Style ID Africa. My name is Leroy Mark, and this is the podcast where we give you the news, the views, the reviews, and the interviews, and everything you need to know about the world of influencer marketing. In today's episode, the BOI goes B2B. We speak to the founder-in-chief of this wonderful organization, Style ID Africa. She is my boss and powers this wonderful podcast, about her journey as an entrepreneur, the highs, the lows, the wins and losses of being an entrepreneur, and really how she manages to juggle it all in a world of influencer marketing with Gen Z's as employees. Ladies and gentlemen, Tami Rashid, my boss, and now yours. Hello, Tami.
Hi, Leroy.
How are you?
Fabulous, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. Tami, tell me a bit about how you grew up. Is entrepreneurship something that's sort of in the family?
Absolutely. I grew up with a very entrepreneur-orientated dad.
Okay.
He always was a go-getter. Even though he had jobs, he still had his own businesses, and I definitely got that inspiration and motivation from my dad, not my mom. Sorry, Mom.
Would you say you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or is it something that happened?
Interesting. I was always a rebel. So I didn't always go according to the norm, and always wanted to challenge the status quo. I was always inquisitive. I was always asking questions, whether business related or not. And I found that when I was working in jobs that there was just something missing. And I don't know if it was proving something to myself. It was definitely not proving something to others. But I felt that there was just something more and more that I could contribute to, I'm not going to say the world, but just others, and inspiring and motivating others. Well, now when I'm talking about that, I'm referring to the team. And I just needed to make that move from job to entrepreneurship, as difficult and as risky as it was. Even one of my first businesses being a clothing label, I literally had a bit of savings, knew that I wanted to jump into it, was obviously very passionate about fashion as well, and got contributions from some family members, even though they couldn't really afford to, but they believed in me, and I took the plunge. And that was one of the first businesses that I started. And before I started that, I was in a job, so I left something cushy, and I left something that I was growing in the business and in the company there. And I think that boils down to rebel, doing something risque.
Do you feel that you live a world that's very male dominated? I mean, your household is full of boys, you were raised around boys, you've got brothers. I think you're the only girl, right?
Absolutely. I was such a tomboy growing up. I was even showing Mila baby picture that we had to submit, and that's me like just on my brother's bike. I think I was 2 years old, couldn't even ride a bike. I was always dressed in my brother's soccer clothes, never wanted to wear the dresses that my gran would knit me. And I grew up with 2 brothers. I have 2 boys at home. I was just always surrounded by testosterone.
I love that. And do you think that's why you are always ready for the challenge, because you've always been the odd one out in the family, in that, you know, you are the only girl, even in your household right now, you know, you are still the only girl.
Absolutely.
And you're so used to being an outlier that, you know, entrepreneurship ultimately is about, you know, going out there and standing out.
Absolutely. That definitely did contribute towards it. I don't know how much, but it's made me tougher, and yeah.
Chat to me about now the entrepreneurial journey. So you've had a business before, and now you're in the business of influence. First and foremost, why an influencer marketing company? I mean, there's so many things you could have done. You have a passion for football. You have so many other interests, fashion being one of them.
Fitness.
Why influence? Fitness.
Actually, if I wasn't heading in this direction, I was contemplating studying dietetics, and at that stage, you could only study it at Tux. And that's one of the reasons I didn't. And then I went into brand management, leadership and brand management as my speciality, as well as strategy. And the reason of heading in the influencer marketing direction is that prior to this business, prior to Style ID, I had a content production agency. And within that business, we also had a platform where users could upload their own profiles, and it was back in the blogging days. And at that stage, I actually went across the country to interview the top bloggers at the time to understand where they felt the industry was going. As I said, I was always inquisitive, and I was always following international trends and what was happening in the blogging space internationally. And I wanted to the vision was to turn that content production agency into a platform that supported bloggers. And that led me to Style ID. The vision was always incorporating, blogging that led to influencer marketing with technology, data, insights, and the one kind of merged into the other from the content production agency.
At what point did you go, today, yes, I'm doing this, I'm starting the agency today?
Wow. Okay, it's an interesting story. Get your popcorn. Slushy. Let me just think a little bit back to Style ID. So when I started the content production agency, I had left a job at one of the e-commerce platforms that I was working at, and I was pregnant with my firstborn. So I left that job pregnant. Well, they actually wanted us to relocate to Cape Town, and my husband's business was here. I was pregnant. I couldn't relocate. So having insights into all these international trends that were happening, I literally sat at my parents' dining room table. Yes, you know, when they say start in the garage, I started in the dining room table. I sat at the dining room table and started with a business plan. I don't really believe in business plans anymore, but I started with a business plan. And that's when the previous business started. And I sold out of that in 2018. I'm not going to go too much into the whys there. Having the vision of where I wanted to take that business, I used that knowledge to literally sit at the dining room table again and put the plan together for Style ID. And at that stage, I was pregnant with my second. So there was no maternity leave for Tami during both pregnancies.
Should we expect, if you're going to start another business, another
not
pregnancy?
Not a chance. Done.
I'm very interested in the idea that because you had done it before, you were confident that you could do it again. Was there any doubt about this business coming together and whether it'd be a success?
There's always doubt. There's always doubt. Even as of today, throughout the day, the emotions, the emotional roller coaster of an entrepreneur is wild. And it's just how you overcome that doubt. And I think that definitely comes with the confidence building. It's not, and there's a very big difference between confidence and ego. And it's just about utilizing specific tools to overcome that doubt. There's always doubt, there's always risks, but it's how you actually deal with those as they arise.
So you've now started the business. You now have a business plan done. You're sitting at your parents' table again. How did you land your first client?
Let me think. I've always had a passion for sales, but more so the relationships. And let me tell you, the clients from the previous business actually all followed me. And that boils down to relationship building. I did have, I think it was about a year's restraint of trade that I couldn't really operate between the one business and the next. And in that year, I was getting phone calls, Tami, what are you doing? Tami, we need to work together again, etc. And I think it was just a lot easier to land the first client for Style ID because of my experience and because of the relationships that had been built in the previous business.
In the early days, what was harder than you expected in starting Style ID? As you were beginning, what did you go through and you go, this is harder than I thought? I mean, I knew it's hard to get clients, I knew it's hard to get this, but this really, I didn't think it was as hard.
I think the influencer marketing industry in general was and still is a tough one. There's always hard things in business, be it when you start a business, you are doing, you the lawyer, you the social media manager, you the accountant, you all of that. So that's not my expertise, but all of that was hard. I studied accounting in my first year at college, but you still don't know from, the actual day-to-day accounting, the contracts, putting together the influencer contracts, putting together the employment contracts, things like that from a legal perspective, and just even starting social media pages. Well, how do I create an Instagram account? Things like that, and learning on the go and learning as you go. So all of that was difficult, but I think the main thing was the influencer marketing industry where it was and how fast it was growing at that stage still, and keeping up with that, and being able to be agile in your service offerings to clients. Even then, now it's 10 times 10 times harder, but I hope that answers your question.
It really does. So talking about every day and the day-to-day, walk us through a typical day in your life.
Do you really want to know?
Especially because you occupy several roles. As you said, you're a mom, you are a wife, you are a daughter, you are a brother, but you're also industry leader, you're a titan of industry, you are...
And a friend.
And you've got all these caps that you wear, and lots of them demand a lot of you. I mean, one of them would be incredible to get through, and you occupy several.
Yeah.
Just give us like a little cut to what it feels like to be Tami Rishi in a day-to-day. What time does your day start?
Around, depends, winter or summer.
Let's go.
No, I'm kidding. So ideally, between the 5:30, that is when I get my gym time in. So that is one of the most important things in my day, actually. And that is more so from a mental state and just getting my head in the game. As difficult as it is sometimes just to get to the gym, it's mandatory for me. So I start my day, obviously coffee and gym. I'm not going to lie, I rush a lot because most days, well, some days it's Tami doing the school run. Other days it's my husband doing the school run. So I'm trying to make sure I'm back to do that. But if I can't get back in time, then my husband does the school run. And then it's racing to the office. So So once I get to the office or log in online, before I even get to the office and log in online, I think that's where the chaos starts. But before I take you through the day, it's very important for me to plan my calendar.
Okay.
So I have my various time slots in the day, which obviously doesn't always go according to plan, but there's various departments within the business, and I have to make sure that I'm giving enough time to each of the departments and the relevant people. So I have specific time slots in the day for what I need to focus on. A lot of the time that gets thrown out the window, and that work that I need to do gets shifted to the evening. But I try to stick to that as much as possible in terms of the day. The day is from client side, from innovation and marketing side, from assisting with what's going on in the new business development department, making sure the finance team is in order, making sure the invoices are sent on time, making sure the payments are made on time, making sure our clients are paying us on time, and just making sure that is all in line. And then sometimes we get thrown some HR issues. So.
It's so interesting that you occupy various positions in the business too, because your role of being you are the CEO. So you do a lot of the strategy thinking of the building and the future proofing of the business, but you also do the managing directing, where
yes.
you're managing budgets, you're managing that we're in line, that we
yes.
being invoiced on time, and then you're also doing sort of the general management, where you're also making sure that
very interesting that
you're dealing with the issues as they arise, the smaller issues too. I'd love to know what is how do you segment yourself in those three roles, because they're very defined?
So I think it's very important to understand that there is a very big difference between a founder, a CEO, and a CEO, and the roles and responsibilities for both of those are very different. And currently, I am both of those roles. The future vision and the future roadmap looks somewhat different, but segmenting both of those roles is the tough part. However, the current solution, and obviously the future solution as well, is to have the right management team in place. And we have slowly gotten there. There's been a lot of school fees paid along the way. And it's also about having the right people in the right seats and knowing that you have that support. And because there's a very big difference between leading and managing. And sometimes I obviously get things wrong, but the solution is to have the right fit of management team to know that you are being supported on all fronts, so that you are able to step away and you are able to lead the company in the direction that it is going.
I'm interested in the fact that because you're a founder and you're the CEO, ultimately the buck stops with you from an accountability point of view, but also stops with you from a decision-making point of view. So when you're one of one, how do you make sure that you're not only seeing things from your lens and that you have a broad view, especially because you're dealing with influencer marketing, which is so dynamic. It changes, I think, from second to second, not even minute to minute. And to make sure that you're not necessarily running Tami's kitchen as opposed to style ID. Yeah.
I think it's really important to be part of a network. And even though I don't have business partners per se and decisions solely fall on me, and as you say, the accountability aspect, it's important to have people that you can bounce things off, whether it's mentors whether it's other avenues of support systems, being from different networks. I am part of an entrepreneurs organization. And it's very interesting when you sit with other entrepreneurs and founders who are maybe CEOs as well, or not, and understand their challenges and their successes as well, and learning from each other. So I think it's very important. Often it gets extremely lonely, and the world is on your shoulders when certain decisions have to be made. I have had business partners before, and everything comes that comes with pros and cons as well. And this is actually the first time in a very long time that I haven't had a business partner. So it's an interesting journey that I'm on in solely making those decisions, but it's very empowering. And it's been a great learning journey that I've been on to actually feel comfortable and confident in making certain decisions without having to rely on somebody else. But then again, there's the contradictory side to that as well.
We're going to take a break. So when we come back, we chat more about being the founder and CEO of Style ID Africa. So how would you describe yourself as a leader? Are you a hands-on leader? Are you let me see what happens and I'll come in when it's a crisis? What kind of leader are you?
So I would definitely say a hands-on leader. The goal is to get Tami to be the leader that I step in when there's a crisis, although I still always step in when there's a crisis. I have definitely transitioned from being extremely hands-on to stepping back a bit more, and that is a result of having the right people in the right seats that you fully trust and have faith in to manage. So I would definitely say hands-on. I know exactly what is going on in every single part of the business at any given time. If you had to phone me and I was on a beach in Hawaii and ask me what's happening with this client, X, Y, and Z, I will tell you. But that's having the vision, the oversight of everything, but I try to not micromanage.
How do you deal with knowing the minutia of the business, but still having the big picture? Having the minutia, so being very aware of the small details, as you say, of each client, of each line item, but also still being very big picture, still knowing that we're scaling, we're moving up. How do you manage those two things where you don't lose sight of the wood for the trees?
So what's very, very important is every single week, the management team submits department reports. And it's very interesting because when I was putting the templates together for each department and those reports, it's very, very key in terms of the headings that you put there that the department's heads have to complete every week. And with those submissions of those reports, I know exactly what's going on, as well as any risks that there are in each part of the business. And then together with those reports, there are, depending weekly or bi-weekly, L10 meetings, and that's leadership meetings with the management team. Those are also extremely structured. It's not just wishy-washy and we're just discussing everyone's problems and this and that. So with both the reports and the L10 meetings, I'm able to have the bird's eye view of everything that's going on, but also being able to identify any risks that need to be mitigated, But by having those processes in place allows me to have the bird's eye view, but allows me to still work on the vision and the growth and scalability of the business.
What is the downside of having that very detail-oriented view of the business?
That I just want to get involved. I just want to get involved. And one of the hardest things that I've had to learn is delegating. although my coach is helping me a lot with that. But I would say just really trying so hard to not step in at every single point of what's happening and rather let the team focus on all the nitty-gritties. And I think one of the key things that I inform the management team that they need to instill in the rest of the team is it's okay to fail forward. And that's when I step in from a guidance point of view as well. And I also have one-on-one check-ins with each management team member or department head so that I can just have that personal time with them as well and help guide and provide insight into things that might be challenging for them.
Most entrepreneurs create a business to either be an asset of value where they are getting a salary from it while they're in the business, and eventually when they retire from the business, they still retain their shareholding. The other alternative is for you to grow it into something that you can sell on, and then you can retire to house in Plettenberg Bay. Which one are you? Are you looking
The latter.
to eventually sell the business
Yes.
as something with value and maybe start another business, or is it to keep it as a legacy in the Rasheen family?
It's always a tough one, that, because it's your baby. And I've been through the process of potentially selling, which didn't happen for multiple reasons. It was a very lengthy process, and I really felt I did my MBA with that. But just in terms of the goal, I definitely think it's the latter. I'm not sure if I can tell you the why right now, but because things are just changing all the time. But I think it's not just about selling the business. If there is going to be another business that is being started, if I sell the business, I think it's more about having an extension of the current business and not just stepping into something completely new and different. So I think that's the goal.
Your business relies 100% with working with people.
Yes.
Your workforce is mainly Gen Z and millennials.
Whew.
How are you finding working and leading a multi-generational workforce?
I learn something new every day.
I know.
Just even from words and language. I mean, I've got Gen Alphas at home. And that I've had to learn a whole new language. So Gen Z teams are very interesting, but I think they're very fun. And I'm not sure if it's just millennials that take things a bit more seriously, or if it's just me. But Gen Z teams, as difficult as it is, I think our team is very solid. And I mean, there's some Gen Z team members that you would think they're Gen X of how mature and independent, and so it's very interesting, but there's definitely an aspect, more of an aspect, especially I've seen it especially in this business as opposed to my previous business, where there's a lot more personal time that needs to be given to Gen Z members. Not that it's all about feelings and emotions, but I was a lot more distant previously, and I feel that it's just about understanding individuals more so than anything.
Yeah, I find that Gen Z workplaces have really challenged millennial minds, because we still have a very traditional way of working.
Absolutely.
We still believe in you work 9 to 5 and then you go home and do a bit more work.
Yeah.
And then, whereas Gen Z's are
But it's interesting because our team specifically, even though majority I would say are Gen Z, the work ethic and effort and input that they all put into their work is very millennial. I think most team members work overtime, not because I said so, because they are just so passionate about what they do. So I think we do have a nice balance though.
So you've got a workforce that's bigger than it's ever been in Style ID, which is teaching you a few things as well. What are some of those things that you've learned from the business being this big with this many people? Because this also is new territory for you. You've always worked with smaller teams.
Yeah.
Now you've got layers of employment with interns, associates, management, upper management, and then you. Apart from the other service providers on the side, being your legal, your HR, your finance. It's a very big team. What have you learned from that?
One of the learnings is definitely managing multiple personalities. That's a very interesting one. And it's also about, one of the, I think, challenges has been that because we've got a very good retention rate of team members, and team members have been with the company for 2, 3, 4, some of them even 5 years. And the more the team grows, it's how they navigate the growth of the different departments and teams, and how they interact, and the interpersonal skills with different team members with such different personalities. So for me, it's about where do I step in from the guidance perspective, but also one of the most important things is to have extremely efficient systems and processes as you grow and as you expand. Otherwise, if the infrastructure is not there, you can have hundreds of people in your company. It's gonna flop because the infrastructure and systems and processes aren't there. So we've had to learn, and we've had to build new systems and processes, but it's also getting the team members that have been in the company for so long to adapt to these new systems, processes, and ways of working, which has been very interesting.
When do you know when to scale?
So in business, you obviously have different phases, from your infancy phase to your growth and scaling phase. And there's a multitude of factors that contribute to scaling. It's definitely obviously based on the client base, the turnover, and the market share of the company within the market, and brand visibility of that. But there's a fine line as well between scaling too quickly and then things falling apart, as I said, if the infrastructure isn't there, or doing it gradually. And when it happens gradually, you almost don't actually see it happening.
How do you keep your creativity and your vision fresh? Because you work in a creative industry, but you're also dealing with very corporate and, dare I say, overwhelming parts of the business. How do you, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, make sure that you're still very fresh about the product you're giving, even though you're busy with running the business?
Trends. And I'm the type of person, and I was actually saying to my coach, that I'm always thinking of the next, and that's not a good thing at times, often, because you need to actually be present, but you need to be in tune with what is happening around you. You need to be looking at different trends that are happening, both globally, both locally across Africa. We are very Africa heavy in our approach, and just being open-minded is extremely important, which I think I've always been, because that's where my inquisitive mindset stems from. And just learning, there's always something new to learn, and I think that fuels the creativity.
And finally, if you can go back to your day one founder self,
wow,
what would you say to Tami Rasheen in 2018?
Do not sweat the small stuff. I used to sweat the small stuff, and I suppose it's okay at the time, because it's such uncharted territory that, even if you did have a previous business, the second business is different. The time is different. But I think it's really not sweating the small stuff and knowing that it is okay to fail. I think that is such a key part of what entrepreneurs and just people in general get wrong, that everyone thinks, or people think, that failing is just not okay, and that's the most important part actually from when you learn. But it's about learning, and it's about assessing, okay, where did I go wrong, and why did I go wrong? What were the decisions that I made in order for that to happen, and how am I going to change? So I definitely think I would say that to my 18-year-old self.
And finally, what is your proudest moment in building this business?
Ooh,
when you look back over just the last while and you look at what you've done with Style ID, what's your proudest moment? Or your proudest item, or what are you most proud about the business?
There's really so many, but I must say, as of today, right now at 10:15, I am so proud of the team. I can say I'm so proud of signing this client. I'm so proud of this product that we've developed, this system that we've implemented. And I've said it for the last couple of months, that we really have such an amazing, passionate, driven team, and it's always about having the right bums in the right seats. And I feel the first time in a long time, and that is one of the things I'm so proud of.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tami.
Thank you, Leroy.
Tami Rasheen, founder and CEO of Style ID Africa.